The movie starts with a voice calling a child away to come hand in hand with the fairies home to the sea. Brona, a pregnant mother, is singing with her young son Ben while drawing a mural of a singing Selkie, which are mythical creatures that can shapeshift between the shape of humans and seals. We see her getting interrupted by Connor, lovingly reminding her of Ben's approaching bedtime. Ben protests with excitement to finish the drawing before the arrival of his baby sibling, and Brona convinces him that they will have plenty of time to do so and takes him to bed. Ben gets in bed with his dog Chew, while his mother, ignoring her pain in her tummy, sings him a song and gives him an ancient shell passed down from her mother, telling him that he can listen to the song of the sea through it. She keeps singing to him and assures him that he's going to be the best big brother as he falls asleep. Then, through very sleepy eyes, Ben sees her leaving his room crying in pain and apologizing to him and Connor as the latter chases after her. 6 years later, on his younger sister Saoirse's birthday, Ben's at the beach in front of his lighthouse home, playing with Chew, remembering drawing stories his mother had told him about the giant man Clear and his dogs and the great Shanachie. To his annoyance, his mute sister Saoirse comes and tries to play with him, but he pushes her away. Saoirse was sitting alone, bored, when a group of seals come up from the sea, intriguing her to play with them. Ben is frustrated with her disregard for his orders and unsuccessfully follows her, trying to warn her of the dangers of the sea, but ends up almost drowning himself. He is even angrier at this and tells her off. Saoirse handles the water better and walks out unscathed. Ben then angrily rushes back to their house and complains to Connor, who doesn't pay much attention to the complaint, and showers the little birthday girl with much affection and adoration. That afternoon, Connor's mom, Granny, comes over to the lighthouse to celebrate Saoirse's birthday, but starts complaining from the get-go about their choice of neighborhood and how the kids look. She dresses Saoirse in a pretty pink dress and serves her special gooseberry buns with nettle tea, which is supposed to work wonders for the voice. During the celebration, Ben and Saoirse keep fighting, and he pushes her into her cake as she blows out her candles for her birthday. In the evening, Connor was still having a hard time as Saoirse's birthday marks the 6th anniversary of Brona's disappearance, and he goes out to the mainland to have a drink with his friend Dan. Saoirse brings Ben his book of Bronha's stories for him to read her a bedtime story, and he gets a mischievous idea in his head to terrify her with a scary story about Macha, the owl witch who's said to have turned her giant son McClear into a stone island by taking all his feelings. He goes on to narrate that Macha hasn't stopped since, and that to this day, fairies are scared to go out on Halloween as they're scared Macha's owl will find them and rob them of their feelings and turn them into stone. He tells her that they might have to come there on Halloween and the next day take Connor's feelings and turn him to stone, robbing her of the only person that loves her. Terrified, Saoirse runs to her bed and waits until Ben falls asleep to sneak into his room next to her and steal the shell from where he keeps it on his shelf. She runs with it to the bedroom and is amazed to hear a sound come out of it as she blows on it. As she continues this for a moment, a magical sparkle of light appears, guiding her to her parents' room to a picture of her mother that's kept on the dressing table. She finds a key underneath the picture, and the light guides her to a closet where she finds a locked box. She opens it with a key that she found and is excited to find a white coat her size and puts it on. Then, guided by the light, she goes out to sea, where she is met by a group of seals, seemingly waiting for her and happy to see her. She goes into the sea and she swims deeper, and she turns into a little white seal. Granny suddenly realizes that Saoirse is gone and runs out to sea, where she finds her washed out and freezing. She's frustrated and shocked by what she sees, and she carries her inside to her bed and screams at Connor about the horridness of the area to raise kids in. Ben finds her a little white coat and asks his father where she could have found it from, and Connor takes the coat back to the box, seemingly addressing his wife in a monologue, telling her that he can't lose his child as well. He then puts the coat back in the box and throws the box into the sea. The next day, the kids are forced to bid farewell to Connor and Chew and travel with Granny to her house in the city as per her decision despite Ben's fierce resistance. Ben draws major landscapes and unusual sightings along the way and makes his rough map as they travel. They get there safely, but the kids get bored with how Granny leads her life. One afternoon, Saoirse goes to the bathroom, puts on Granny's best coats, and gets into the tub, which frustrates Granny and forces her to put them in bed in the early afternoon. Ben jumps out of the bed and escapes through the window and goes to find and live with Chew. Saoirse follows him, playing the shell, which attracts the fairies to follow the magic light to find her so she can sing to them and free them and send them home. The fairies finally find her and take her to their hiding place filled with their stoned kind, and Ben follows them there to find them singing and entertaining her. Despite their urging and wish for Selkie to sing and free them before Macha's owls find them and turn them into stone, she couldn't produce any sound because they didn't have her coat. And the owls find them as they feared and attack the fairies. They manage to shelter Selkie and tell Ben to find Selkie's true coat so that she can find her voice and sing before the owls turn them to stone. They go through a tunnel and get on a bus that was going in the direction of their home, and Ben is shocked to realize that all of his mother's stories were true. Selkie plays the shell and the magic light comes to her, and she suddenly exits the bus in the middle of nowhere to follow it. Using Ben's map, they go through the forest trying to find their way back home, where they believe the special coat is. As they go deep in the forest, they're elated to see Chu searching for them, and excited, they resume their journey but Selkie falls ill. Ben puts her on Chu's back and they continue, and as the rain starts pouring, they see a little house in a distance where they hope to shelter in until it passes. Once safe inside, the little house appears to have a well in the middle of it. Selkie then jumps into the well, forcing Chu and Ben to jump after her. Inside, Ben is separated from Chu and his sister and lands on the other side of the well looking for them. He goes through a tunnel surrounded by fairies turned into stone, while Selkie is seen taken by the owls. Ben meets the great Shanahi, a fairy whose hair stores all his memories and lines the inside of the cave. He offers to show him the memory of McClare, the great giant whose heart had been broken and had cried an ocean with anguish, and his mother Macha couldn't stand to see him in so much pain and sent her owls to take his suffering away, but ended up inadvertently turning him into a stone through one hair strand. Then the great fairies get a feeling that something is wrong as the light around him fades, and he declines to look through another strand of hair and sees a sad Selkie surrounded by the owls. The fairy warns that unless Ben finds the Selkie's coat as soon as possible, Selkie won't even last the night. He then gives Ben a strand of hair to follow that will lead out through a tunnel and advises him to be careful. As he travels through the strand, he stumbles upon a memory of his mom, which goes back to the last night he saw her, which is the same night Selkie was born. The memory reveals what happened after he fell asleep, and his mother is shown in pain running through and out of the house and deep into the sea, declaring she's running out of time and that she has to save their baby as Connor chases after her. Connor then follows her in, but returns alone carrying a newborn Selkie. Connor comes back devastated by the loss of his wife and introduces Selkie to the young Ben. As soon as this memory finishes, the tunnel opens and a small house is seen at the end of it. He gets to the house passing on a bridge made of fairies that have been turned into stone, warning him to be careful and to be wary of the jars inside the house. He enters the house to find Macha, the owl witch, who no longer can fly, sitting at the corner. She tries to convince Ben that she's not as bad as the stories portray her and that she's only trying to help. Suddenly, Ben hears Chu bark, follows the voice to an attic, and finds him and Selkie, who seem to be frozen surrounded by glass. Macha is pushing on the entry to try to force it open on the other hand while her owls are trying to break the ceiling on the other side. Ben tries to play the shell to try to break the jars full of emotions so they can attack Macha but fails. He then apologizes to Selkie for not being a better brother, for blaming her all these years, and asks her to play the shell. She complies and all the jars and the glasses around her break, freeing her. Macha is then attacked by the feelings released from the jars, and she then admits that she's been lost for so long and that she only did that to her son because she couldn't stand to see him hurting any longer, and Ben pleads with her to help them. She checks on Selkie, advises her that she needs her coat, and goes on to give them magical dogs. Ben and Selkie jump on Chu's back and start heading to their house, led by the magical dogs. The dogs get them to the roof of their lighthouse, but Selkie is sick and shivering. Ben keeps her with Chu and runs inside to find her coat, and he surprises his father with his arrival and bombards him with questions about the whereabouts of the coat. Connor admits that he threw the coat away and declares that she needs to go to the hospital as soon as possible. Despite Ben's resistance, he gets them all on the boat and starts heading to town. Ben then jumps into the sea, determined to find the coat, and a seal carries him to the floor of the sea, where the box lies and another one brings him the key. As he opens the box and retrieves the coat, Connor swims down and rescues him. They put the coat on Selkie, who immediately gets her voice and calls out to her brother, who finally realizes that Selkie is a Selkie just like her mom. The magical light dogs appear and take them all for a swim with the seals, and Selkie turns to a seal as well. They swim a while and wash up and see that even though that she has her coat on, Selkie is still sick. Ben inspires her and leads her to sing. She starts singing, leading a magical light to travel around, freeing all the fairies that are turned to stone, enabling Maha to fly, finally awakening her son McClare, and reuniting with the mother and son. As soon as Saoirse finishes singing, a Selkie, who turns out to be Brona, washes up to shore hoping to take Saoirse back to the sea, but gives her the option of staying because she's half human. Ben and Connor beg her to let Saoirse stay, as she is all they have left. Then Saoirse chooses to stay, and they say their final goodbyes, and Brona then takes Saoirse's coat, untangling their world once and for all, and jumps back into the sea. Connor apologizes to his kids for having been depressed and not having been involved as a father, and Granny and Dan run to the sea happy to see them okay, and they all go hand in hand back to their house as one big happy family. After some time had passed on Ben's birthday, Connor and Ben are seen drawing a fairy on the wall next to the Selkie Brona had drawn a few years ago, and called down by Granny and Saoirse to the beach to celebrate Ben's birthday with a cake. As the celebrations progress, Saoirse dunks Ben into his cake as he had done on her birthday, and later the siblings are seen swimming in the sea together, and that is how the movie comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed today's story. Make sure to leave us a like, leave a comment, also sub to our channel. I love you guys so much and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye!